attacks me on a regular basis. She says stupid shit on a regular basis. They just happen to coincide. But can I just say this?
We can have platforms that have stuff on them that not everyone on that platform or who consumes stuff on that platform enjoys. And The View is a particularly weird place to do with cancellation.
It's called The View?
It's called The View. It's not called The Facts.
Yeah, but isn't it interesting that it's called, I don't think they meant this when Barbara Walters invented it a long time ago, but it's The View.
Well,
that's the problem in America.
But
there is one view.
Right, and
one
that's clearly
true opinion, and everybody else.
Bill Maher is back at it. And this time he's not just disagreeing with Whoopi Goldberg. He's coming in strong. Whoopi is no stranger to headlines that spark instant reactions. But this latest comment, it's taken things to a whole new level. And the moment Maher steps in, the tone shifts fast. What starts as a discussion quickly turns into something much more intense. If you're ready to unpack it all, let's jump right in.
Whoopi Goldberg saying, it's worse to be a black person in America today than a woman in Iran. I say we were talking about the trans issue before, and the New York Times really has come over on that to the sort of the sensible, liberal, not crazy woke position. I think this is great first step toward getting the Democrats back to sanity. And a second good step would be, we got to do something about The View. I really believe that. I mean, could you just
it's huge in Iran, though.
Maher zeroes in on one specific claim, and it's a big one. The idea that being black in America today is somehow worse than being a woman in Iran. For Maher, that comparison doesn't just miss the mark. It completely ignores reality. In Iran, women deal with strict government-enforced rules. Mandatory dress codes, limited freedoms, surveillance, and legal restrictions that are backed by actual punishment. That's not social pressure, that's state control. Meanwhile, in the US, despite real challenges that still exist, Black Americans actively participate in every level of society, from voting to leadership to shaping culture and policy. Maher's argument is simple. Putting these two realities side by side isn't bold, it's misleading. And that's why the backlash came so quickly.
Head cover. You can't even tell which one is which.
My district in the great state of Texas is actually a white majority district that President Trump would have won by 25 points. As I said, I'm a direct descendant of a slave. My great-great-grandfather was born on a Rosedown plantation. I am literally being judged not by the color of my skin, but by the content of my character. That's the progress because, like, a lot of white people had to vote for me. A lot.
So
I don't even ever want to hear Whoopi Goldberg's conversation about how it's worse to be black in America right now. That's a bit far. And my father, who's 75 years old, he was a man that was in the French quarters that had to go get a sandwich to the back door of the building. And his son is now a United States congressman in a white majority district in Texas as a Republican. That is America.
Then Wesley Hunt steps in, and suddenly the conversation gets real. He brings up his own family history, reminding everyone that his great-grandfather was born into slavery. That's not theory, that's lived history. And now, generations later, he's serving in Congress, representing a majority-white district. That contrast hits hard. It forces the discussion out of abstract arguments and into real-world progress. Critics say this is exactly where Whoopi's argument falls apart, because when you act like nothing has changed, you're ignoring just how much has changed. No one is claiming everything is perfect, but acting like there's been no progress doesn't help anyone. It just distorts the truth.
It began in Texas in Galveston.
Galveston,
General
right?
Granger came and read the order number 3 that finally abolished slavery months after the war because the war took a time to get to Galveston. We celebrated that when I was a kid in Texas, but it becomes national a year or two ago, and Donald Trump doesn't want to celebrate that. To me, it's exactly what you're talking about. So is it 600,000 people died so that we wouldn't enslave people anymore, and the fact that freedom won is a good thing, and we should honor that. That's what Juneteenth's about. And I don't know why President Trump doesn't want to honor that.
So I don't want it. I don't want Black History Month. I don't want all these days for it to make everybody feel special. I'm an 80s baby. Everybody's too sensitive anyway. We're all Americans anyway. This holiday
That's what Morgan Freeman said.
I can't agree more with him.
Yeah, he said that to Mike Wallace. He said, I'm an American. Do you want to be called a Jew American?
But Maher doesn't stop there. He zooms out and targets what he sees as the bigger issue: identity politics. This is a topic he's been pushing on for years. His stance: when everything is framed through race, grievance, and labels, it doesn't unite people. It separates them. What may begin as recognition can slowly turn into permanent division. Even topics like Black History Month become part of this larger debate. Supporters say it's about honoring history. Maher's side argues that when differences become the center of every conversation, shared identity starts fading away. And for him, that's where the real problem begins.
Juneteenth, too. And non-Italians celebrate Columbus Day. And
I'm all for any holiday.
I'm half Irish. Do I get half the day off on St. Patrick's Day?
But a lot of
I get half drunk?
Everybody
Everybody gets drunk on St. Patrick's Day. That's a good point.
Did you have a question for the congressman there?
No, are you telling me you're black?
Yes.
You don't see color, right, Dave?
We don't see color.
Which leads to the deeper question: how do you recognize history without turning division into a constant lens? Most people agree that history matters. That's not the debate. The real issue is whether identity is becoming the only way people are taught to see the world. When that happens, unity starts to weaken. The goal isn't to erase culture or ignore the past. It's to stop letting identity dominate every discussion to the point where the idea of a shared national identity feels controversial. And for Maher and others, that's a direction worth questioning.
Suspects on the far left that the saying is, when you're in a hole, stop digging, not keep digging. Talk about doubling down on what got you fucked in the first place. Even the one concession I've heard a few people on the losing side offer, that liberals should stop saying the Trump voters are stupid, comes with a kind of unspoken parentheses. We know they are.
Maher then shifts focus to the view itself, and this is where things get sharper. He argues that the show often ends up hurting the very ideas it tries to promote. Instead of presenting thoughtful, grounded arguments, it can come across as overly emotional and disconnected from everyday reality. That's where the real damage happens. Viewers aren't always walking away convinced. Many leave skeptical, frustrated, or simply tuned out. And that, according to Maher's critics and supporters alike, is a serious problem for the message being delivered.
Yeah, I got bad news for you. They don't have a monopoly on stupid. You wear Queers for Palestine t-shirts and masks 2 years after the pandemic ended. And you can't define woman, I mean person who menstruates. You're the teachers' union education party, and you've turned schools and colleges into a joke. You just lost a crazy contest to an actual crazy person.
He pushes even further, saying the issue isn't just how things are said, it's how conversations are built. Too often, he argues, discussions start with a fixed conclusion and then work backward to justify it. Facts take a backseat, while emotional framing takes the lead. It might sound powerful in the moment, but it doesn't hold up under scrutiny. Critics say this creates an environment where disagreement isn't explored, it's shut down. And once audiences start seeing that pattern, trust begins to fade.
Love to speak truth to power, and we always should, but you have completely lost the ability to speak truth to bullshit. The Democratic polling firm Blueprint told Democrats months ago that black voters, aka their supposedly liberal base, were more likely to find the president too liberal than too conservative. They also found that voters didn't just want Harris to distance herself from Biden, they wanted her to distance herself from what they believe the entire Democratic Party has become, a Portlandia sketch.
At that point, this isn't just about TV anymore. It starts to look like a broader political issue. Many critics believe there's already a growing credibility gap, and messaging like this only widens it. The concern is that moderate voters are being pushed away by language that feels extreme or disconnected from real-life concerns. That's why some figures within the party are under pressure to distance themselves from this tone. But here's the challenge. Many of the rising voices are aligned with the same direction, making any real shift harder to pull off.
Because I got so many texts this week because she attacked me the week before.
Sure.
So everybody was like, oh, Bill, I get you're enjoying the karma. First of all, I'm going to talk about this at the end of my show next week, teaser. But there is no thing as karma, okay? Get over that. Whoopi attacks me on a regular basis. She says stupid shit on a regular basis. They just happen to coincide. But can I just say this? I had on last week Ira Glasser, former longtime head of the ACLU, talking about free speech. Whoopi Goldberg, who, by the way, I hope is still a friend. We can disagree with each other. Should not be canceled or put off her show, as much as I totally disagree with her crazy statement.
Still, Maher draws a clear line when it comes to free speech. Even after criticizing Whoopi's comment, he makes it clear. He's not calling for her to be removed or silenced. That distinction matters. For him, free speech isn't about protecting popular opinions. It's about defending the right to say things that are controversial or even wrong. But he also raises a tough question. Would that same level of defense apply if the roles were reversed? He doesn't seem convinced. And that adds another layer to the entire debate.
But isn't it interesting that it's called, I don't think they meant this when Barbara Walters invented it a long time ago, but it's The View.
Well,
that's the problem in America.
But
there is one view,
right, and
one
that's clearly
true opinion, and everybody else can go sit in the corner.
That's correct. I think that's not actually, you're right, the name raises questions, and certainly there's been some much covered internal politics on that show, but I do think that, there is space. Even that show does have space. When Whoopi said what she said, there was quick pushback from other panelists. They were like, I don't know. Actually, I think that might not be.
And that brings everything full circle. Critics say the real issue with The View isn't strong opinions. It's how those opinions are handled when challenged. Too often, disagreement turns into conflict instead of conversation. Curiosity gets replaced by defensiveness. Debate gets replaced by loyalty to a single viewpoint. And when that happens, the show starts to feel less like an open discussion and more like a closed system. According to Maher, that's the core problem. When outrage is rewarded and opposing views are pushed aside, credibility doesn't just weaken, it slips fast. In the end, this wasn't just about one controversial statement. It's about a larger pattern, a style of commentary that critics say leans on exaggeration, elevates emotion over clarity, and deepens division while claiming to reveal truth. If you found this breakdown insightful, hit like, subscribe, and share your thoughts below. See you in the next one, Rocket.